They say the loudest statement is silence, but sometimes the numbers scream so loud they blow the silence to pieces. What if I told you there was a coordinated effort, a secret vote, to diminish the biggest star the WNBA has ever seen? And what if the proof was hiding in plain sight? The evidence became so undeniable that even Basketball Hall of Famer Dick Vitale saw it for what it was, calling the vote an act of absolutely pure jealousy. That's not just an opinion, that's a confession delivered through the voting booth. While Caitlin Clark received a record 2.93 million fan votes, the highest in league history, her own peers secretly voted her as the 9th best guard in the league. 9th. Let that sink in. This wasn't a snub. This was a message. And it's the story they don't want you to know. A story of jealousy so deep it's threatening to tear the league apart from the inside. But the real story isn't just about their jealousy. It's about her revenge. A revenge she's enacting every single night, not with words, but by humiliating them with her success. Stick with me, because I'm going to show you the proof that the war against Caitlin Clark is real and how she's winning it by forcing them to profit from the very person they're trying to tear down. It all started with a moment that should have been a coronation. On August 25, 2025, Nike did what everyone knew was coming. They officially crowned Caitlin Clark, not just with a shoe deal, but with a legacy, a signature logo, the iconic interlocking CC, placing her in the same rarefied air as Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Serena Williams. This was the capstone of a record-shattering 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal, the most lucrative in women's basketball history. This was history, a moment for the entire sport to celebrate. And from her own team, the Indiana Fever? Crickets. Nothing. A bizarre and deafening silence that echoed across the sports world. No coordinated post, no celebratory tweet, no press conference hyping up their generational talent. While the world was celebrating, the organization that benefits most from her presence had a minimal initial social media presence around the announcement. At first, people called it a PR blunder, an amateur mistake. But we're seeing now it was something much darker. It was the first shot fired in a Cold War, a clear signal that not everyone was happy with Clark's meteoric rise. It was the first taste of a jealousy so petty that a team couldn't even bring itself to congratulate its own superstar on becoming a global icon. But the silence was only the beginning. The resentment wasn't just happening in the front office, it was manifesting on the court in the most brutal way possible. You see it every game. The extra shove, the hip check after the whistle, the hard foul that seems to have a little more behind it. You might think it's just tough basketball, that she's a rookie paying her dues. But the numbers tell a different story. The numbers expose the truth. Caitlin Clark, despite being just one player, has faced 17% of the league's flagrant fouls. Read that again. One player is absorbing nearly a fifth of the league's most aggressive and dangerous fouls. This is not a coincidence. This is a pattern. It's an undercurrent that's been visible all season, a sense that she's been left to fend for herself on the court while taking brutal hits with no support. That's not basketball. That's a message. It's a physical manifestation of the resentment that veteran players feel. Analysis from commentators like Stephen A. Smith points to a deeper issue. Years of resentment from veteran players who excelled for years without ever getting the shine Clark received right out of the gate. They feel she didn't earn it, that she didn't pay her so-called dues, so they're making her pay a price physically. Night after night, they're trying to intimidate her, to break her, to send a message that her global stardom doesn't matter between those lines. They are targeting her. And it's one of the dirtiest secrets in the league right now. The physical aggression, the silent treatment from her own team, these were the warning signs. But the smoking gun, the undeniable proof of this league-wide jealousy, came with the 2025 All-Star vote. And this is where the story turns from suspicion into fact. The fan vote came in, and it was a landslide. A record 2.93 million people voted for Caitlin Clark. It was a clear mandate. The world wanted to see her on that stage. The fans, the people whose money funds the league, had spoken, but the players were given a vote too. A secret ballot where they could rank their peers without public scrutiny. And they used it as a weapon. The same players who watch Clark sell out their arenas, the same players who are now flying on chartered planes because of the revenue she generates, the same players whose salaries are about to increase because of the new TV deals she is driving, they voted her as the 9th best guard in the WNBA. 9th, not first, not second, 9th. As Dick Vitale pointed out, This jealousy is aimed at the very person who has elevated the entire league through chartered planes, increase in salaries, sold-out crowds, improved TV ratings. There is no basketball reason for that ranking. It is a statistical and logical impossibility. It was a coordinated, emotional, and petty act of sabotage. They saw their chance to humble her, to put a stain on her historic rookie season, and they took it. It's a betrayal of the sport itself. They were so blinded by their own resentment that they tried to keep the league's most popular player out of its own showcase event. They were willing to hurt the league to hurt her, and that is the story they will never admit to. So how does a player respond to that? To their own team going silent, to their opponents trying to physically injure them, to their peers actively conspiring to diminish their accomplishments? Some players would break. They'd lash out in the media, create locker room drama, or let it affect their game. But Caitlin Clark, her revenge is silent, and it is devastating. Her revenge is dropping 30 points in the same building where players who voted against her are now playing in front of a sold-out crowd for the first time in their careers. Her revenge is every single merchandise drop with her CC logo selling out in minutes, proving that the fans are with her, not them. Her revenge is the soaring TV ratings every time the Indiana Fever are on national television. Ratings that are lining the pockets of the very women who resent her for them. She is humiliating them by being the sole reason for the league's unprecedented growth. They have to cash the checks that her popularity signs. That's the ultimate humiliation. They wanted to keep her down, but she has lifted the entire league to a place it has never been before. The chartered planes they enjoy, that's the Caitlin Clark effect. The new sponsorships pouring in, the Caitlin Clark effect. The mainstream media coverage on ESPN every night, the Caitlin Clark effect. And here's the most poetic part. After the public backlash over their initial silence on the Nike deal, what did the Fever do? They were forced to throw a massive celebration. They turned Gainbridge Fieldhouse into a Caitlin Was Here event, giving out free t-shirts with her logo to every fan, with Nike pop-ups all over the arena. This came after the narrative had already taken hold that their initial silence was a story. Their response felt reactive rather than proactive. They were shamed into it. They had to publicly embrace the superstar they privately refused to acknowledge. That is humiliation. They're not riding the wave, they're being dragged by it, forced to smile and clap for the woman who holds all the power. They didn't want to celebrate her, so she became so massive that the entire world celebrated her, forcing them to join in or look like fools. Her revenge isn't a headline, it's a balance sheet, and it's a lesson to every player who voted against her. You can try to tear her down, but you'll have to do it while wearing the merch she made famous and playing in the arenas she sold out. So don't be mistaken about what you are watching. This is more than a rookie season. It's a hostile takeover. This is a story about a system that wasn't ready for a true superstar. The WNBA has long operated on a philosophy of parity, where no single player is bigger than the collective. That was a survival mechanism. But Caitlin Clark doesn't fit that system. She breaks it, and it terrifies them. Nike didn't ask the Fever for permission when they launched her logo. They anointed her. They recognized that Caitlin Clark now has more cultural power than her own team, and maybe even more than the league itself. She's not just an employee of the WNBA. She's a partner, and she's the one with all the leverage. The jealousy from other players isn't just about her money or her fame. It's about this power shift. The resentment is a reaction to the fact that she doesn't need them. She doesn't need the league's machine to be a global icon. She became one on her own, and now the league needs her. The jealousy is rooted in fear. Fear that the old way of doing things is over. Fear that one player has changed the entire dynamic of power in their sport, and they were right to be afraid. The vote was their last stand, a desperate attempt to cling to the old world order, and it failed spectacularly. It didn't diminish her, it exposed them. It proved to the world that the resentment is real. It turned her into a sympathetic hero and them into petty antagonists. They tried to make her a villain, and instead they cast themselves in that role. That is the ultimate humiliation. But this is far from over. The jealousy hasn't vanished just because it's been exposed. It's festering, and the next battleground is already on the horizon. Her signature shoe, the one that will carry that iconic CC logo, is set to launch in 2026. It will be another global event, another moment where the spotlight shines directly on her. Will the league and the players have learned their lesson by then? Will they finally realize that her win is their win? Or will the jealousy bubble over into something even more public, even more destructive. The story isn't over. They tried to vote her down, but she's rising higher than ever. And the question now is, will they finally rise with her? Or will they get crushed under the weight of their own bitterness as she continues to humiliate them with a success they can't stand but are forced to accept? The truth is out there.